All praises Kembo Kemo na Tatanzami Yamazulu, Kimfumo Kyakuisa, Nzambi Mawesha, Nzambi Okabenisha, Nzambi Monene, Nzambi Ampungu Tuleno, Betwabu Banabetu. I'm trying to keep that going because our brother from he started that. I'm sure we'll see him again soon. But that was one of the first things many of us heard when we started to get up in this awakening, and we honor him for that. We honor all of the people who are part of this awakening. And my hope for this message, this is nowhere in any means an attack on any one person, but just a revelation that was given to me about why this awakening continues to be a concern for so many, and why people have rejected it, and why people continue to go different ways. And we're going to talk about that. So, Yenge Keno, Kokwisi Ambote, welcome. Away Nusiemi, Kambote Keno, Luvuvamu, Yala! Uh, we give thanks, Matondo Tatanzambi and Pungu Telendo, for this opportunity to come for once again. And I hope that you will wikichila, that you will listen to what needs to be said. If it's morning, or tusikamene, where you are, for all of you. This is indeed some interesting times we're now living in, as many things are happening. I'm going to talk about this symbol, and I knew what I saw in that Nevada courtroom is Lucifer was being symbolic. Because for those who don't know, and they don't want to believe us, but we're going to get to there, the Nzuzi, or judge of the earth right now, is or was, I should say, Esau, from his god is Lucifer, but Tatanzambi is already toppled that process. And from what I saw, because everybody doesn't understand the Pinocchio spells and the strings and everything that they do, and these secret people don't understand this, everything's about sorcery, as I'm going to show you, that they're coding the fact that while he was a black man, this is really showing Second Ezra 6 and 9. That is the end of the judges. And it's funny that she happened to be a woman because of Lilith. Because all that justice is blind thing, that the blindfold is really Lilith. Okay. And I was like, and she turned from black to white. People don't want to know that. She's Libertas. She's also Ishtar, Isis, whatever you want to call her. And it was the symbolism that her kangaroo court, and remember they were showing how it was like he was getting all these charges and it didn't make any sense, and he was angry. And that's why Tatanzambi says this is what I call the kangaroo court, or what I call the hypocrite court. It's like the judge who's making the judgment is just as much the hypocrite as the person she's making the judgment on. And so now he's going to show the world all of these courts that have always been in session are no different than what you saw in Alice in Wonderland. Off with the head type of stuff. Okay, Queen of Hearts. That's really Lilith, by the way. They call her. They call her. And this one dude said Mother Nature is a serial killer. Yeah, because that's her. She's a serial killer. She kills everybody that the Most High loves. Okay, and she don't care about even her own. Sometimes she eat her own. And they coded this and they covered it up because they know Mother Nature's talking about Lilith, who was a she devil. And if you don't appease her way, it's over for you. So anyway, we're gonna get into that here in a minute. But once again, Yenge Keno, away Nusiemi, Nzami Monene, he's good, and we're gonna talk about my title, Glorify Tata Congo, Shame the Devil, Don't Shame Tata Congo, and Glorify Lucifer. And this is all going to go into the context of the donkey mentality, or reprobate minded, is what that's what basically Romans 1 and 18. He said, reprobate mindedness is what turns you into an animalistic mentality of having to be, and I meant to pull up that scripture, do not be like the horse. People don't know that they have been actually conditioned by going to school. That's the bridle of the horse that's being put in their mouth, and we'll talk about that. And what I remember is there was a comic. I mean, people, I can't remember the name of it, but in the comic, the characters were donkeys, and I don't remember the donkey. I can't remember. I can't find it, but I'm trying to find it. But this is how they were mocking what they have done with the Anan Sea and the moon too. Okay, because when it was the curse of Caina, and nobody makes this connection, and I know what they did. Okay, the curse of Caina or Cain was that they were to till the earth and the ground would be thorn and thistles. Well, what they did after the flood in the days of Noah, when Kanani received that same curse, that's why it was, they said, you will now be like Caina. Okay? So then what they wanted to do is abracadabra, hocus pocus, let's get into our God paganism and flip it on them and turn them into the donkeys for us. And they will work for us. And at the same time, we will do our best to make sure that the ones who were told that we replace our land would also be the donkeys. And just to kind of get an idea, people ask the question, why did Jesus, or I'll say Fumu Yisu, why did Yisu ride in on a donkey? Because he was saying, Cain is beneath me. Cain, remember he said, he called the Canaanites Anansi, or the dogs. So they were the donkeys of the earth. And he's saying, I am the king over the donkey, Caina. So I'm showing you. And so the abracadabra spell and the hocus pocus that they've been doing through their paganism is to get the fairy godmother and also the Wizard of Oz to turn them into the horse, the thoroughbred above the donkeys. Okay? That's why everything you know is called carats. 13 karat gold, 14 karat gold, because it's about carrots that you feed the horses, about the donkeys. Dangling the carrot. This is what they do with your money. When they have all the gold, all the silver, and they're saying we have the 13 karat gold, the 14, all the different carats of silver and cobalt. That's why everything's about carats, is because they were not supposed to have these things. They were the ones to be fed the carrots and not the other way around. Okay? But at the same time, he had pity upon them and say, you will have salvation to us, but you get the crumbs and we get the bread. And this was supposed to be any nation that was worshiping paganism. They had to come through. You see, when Tata Congo created our nation, our forefather, Abana, broke free of this paganism and went back to the ways of Nsemu and was allowed to do, he was obedient with Ansaka, Isaac, and Yakubi. And at that point, we were now Nzuzi. We replaced Esau as the judge. Okay? So what people don't understand is 500 years ago, the Most High didn't recognize any of the other nations from the other 72 tribes that came out of the boat of Noka. Okay? He only recognized Banabetu of Isolde as Nzuzi. And that's why, as I'm going to get into this, why I'm going to go into Davidi's Psalm 51 and Tumba 51, what is it exactly that he is trying to do? Okay? And this is why Tatanzambi says, the awakening that we're in, you have to beat the devil at his own tricks and his own game in order to demonstrate that we are far superior to his way, which means he played dirty. People don't understand it. He plays dirty. So what he did, he made his way look nice without realizing he's cooking you on a skillet like a fish. Whereas our Messiah, Mfumo Yisu, is the real fishers of men, but they tricked it. They said, no, the fisher is now cooking you, but you don't see it because of our our mistake. But the real fishers of men has been rejected. But we don't know that. Okay? So now, we know today, the fifth day, that's really, one, two, three, two, three. It's really, today is really Katatu. I think or it's either Katatu or Kaya, however you want to count, how you do the Samwadi. Um, but I know people still count the Samwadi as the Saturday. That's fine. It's all going to change. We all got to go back to our original way of going back to the Adama Yakongo calendar that was called the Hanukkah calendar. And it was the cycle because everything is all jacked up because that's part of becoming the donkey is they continue to believe the showman. And what you're going to see is I'm going to explain it is Shaitani was always about a showman, okay, running a stage with a curtain down behind the veil so that you wouldn't see what was happening behind the veil, which is very bad, okay. People who go behind the veil, you don't want to be in his world. They know, they understand this. But when you come out on center stage, you got to make me look good. That's why you got to stick to the script. That's why you don't stick to the script. Oh, they know what's gonna happen to them. I ain't gonna get into details, okay? But everything is about the donkey, okay? And they mocked it also when they did it in the Planet of the Apes. Why he said, "You let them call you ape, donkey, when you are ape." But ape is their mockery of our Muntu, because we became the Anansi. So therefore, we are like unto apes, no different than them, running around acting crazy like how they do in the jungle with like a fatherless children. And that's why when you see the concept of what they did with, especially with black people, specifically Bantu people, is they want us, they convinced us to come into their world so we can act like the jackass instead of being connected to the one who came in on the jackass so that King Kaina would get his revenge. And that's why you see that show Jackass is a mockery of the seed of Cain and also the people who worship Baal. You are the jackass because you're going to always go back to the Father with mud on your face, like he talks about in Malachi, because you are a hypocrite. And that's why, and I'm going to talk about the churches, that's why people, when they look at what we were doing in this awakening and they look at what's going on, it's like the one thing that Lucifer was meant, this was a black op. I'm going to tell you about it was a black op from the beginning. It was a black op from the time Kimbangu was here, okay? Was that anyone that would come and free the jackasses, we're going to make their God look like a jackass. And don't let that come to fruition. And that was one of the reasons why, they want to continue to see him as the tyrant and turn him into the tyrant and then make his people feel like they were tyrants over us. And so now we're turning you into you don't even know, we're mocking you all day long because you were a jackass donkey for leaving King Congo to become work for those he called the donkey, the Canaanites, and Kaina, and those who were like that. Okay? And that's why when it says Ishmael will be like a wild ass, that's the spirit of Cain. Because the spirit of Cain, they were wild. They were, they were wild asses, donkeys, panda, running around as we call them in Panda, running around acting crazy. And that's why when they took that bear and they called it the panda bear because it's black and white, is meant to be symbolic of the black and white flip. When because we talked about there's really no such thing as white people, they're modified lepers of the days of Noka. That's exactly what Kaina did is he turned the darker skinned people and the fallen angels who used to be black, they had this, and then of course when you get people that get angry about race, it's like, no, you don't understand who taught you race is who's lying to you. They know this. They made this stuff up. They know, and he even said we used to be brown. Okay. And I'm like, oh, they put it out there with the scapegoating. They go, and I told my wife, it's like they always say, they're going to do a scapegoat, and they said, I don't know if I should be saying this. So then you say, oh, here go the scapegoat. Whenever you hear one of these people come out on Twitter or TikTok or Facebook or whatever they say, and they go, I don't know if I should be saying this. That's the person that was called to be the scapegoat, to tell you the truth, and it's a lie. And it's the scapegoat donkey, really. That's what they're calling themselves, because they refer to the world as Ngoyim, or the sheep or the donkeys. And that doesn't sound like, but wait a minute. You are going too. Okay? And that's why the whole sabotage effect that they like to do is for those who want to remain that way. Is exactly what they're talking about. So if you really want to know, well, we don't get into that part, who Caesar is really meant to be in this awakening, you're going to find out here soon enough what they're trying to mock. And so that's why King Kongo was like, Tatanzambi was saying in the revelation that I received, is like, we need to explain to our people that to beat the devil, you got to play the game better than he does. And that's one of the reasons why, and just to give you an example how I know this, when you look at the movie Bruce Almighty, and this is how he coded Simon-Toko with Morgan Freeman, wearing the white suit, I'm God, with the beard on. And then you saw the part where he did the end, he's like, there's this man holding up the sign, and he's a homeless guy, but inside of him, you didn't know that he was God, okay? So he was showing you the people who are homeless, which is referencing the Bantu people, they're homeless, are the angels unawares. Because we don't have a home. The Kimbangu and Toko began the process of getting it run, but see, those who like to be Anansi with Cain continue to fight for it, to keep it in the ball in his court, because everything is about ball in the court. It's about a game. It's sports. They all see it, their mentality is, we're going to challenge you to keep the ball in our court. And ball is the goat god, is the cattle god or the donkey god that they did in the movie The Rights. When you see them with the horseshoe and all that other stuff, all kind of, because cattle and horses are both considered the same, just like sheep and goats. Anything that's considered cattle is worshipped as gods. They just don't tell you that. Okay? So I'm going to start my intro. Again, I don't own the rights to this. This is only for the edification of my channel and not for any redistribution of any kind. And for our people to continue to learn and understand what's going on in this time. And not for me to benefit off of any way. Hold on, I ran away again. And I will make sure we have a song this time. I apologize. I don't know. I'm sorry. I got the phone call and I got distracted. I'll try not to go too long. Inget, hallelujah. Okay. All praises. Umbote once again, wanakumbase, imana, imana velam sadi setu. Tanzambi kema hallelujah bayeti nkosi. We come humbly once again before your throne, Yahya, to bring this message to our people, to hope you to continue to rise us up above where we should have been a long time ago, and to teach the world our way and not to continue to go in the unrighteous path. Tanzambi, we indeed walked away from our opportunity to make this world a better place, and the world has suffered for it deeply for the last 500 years plus because of all those who continue to argue against your Nzolo, Tuzolo, or your will. Tanzambi, we continue to grow in our understanding of what you would like us to be. We honor Fumu Yusu Kuso Kongo, the Mwana Velala, the Moya and Peve, Assalamu alaikum Kongo. We give honor to the Unkuluntu or the Pema Kalunga, Yenge Keno, all the way down to Tata Azama and Mama Eva, that were the righteous, those who have come to try to help us restore our knowledge and our wisdom. Nakome Bene Yahweh Kongo, Inget Hallelujah. Okay. The Book of Ntumba, or Psalm 51. When Davidi was calling upon Tatanzambi, the Most High Yakongo, for his deliverance or for his to receive cleansing from his zono or sin, okay, was to admit that he had caused himself shame and he had also shamed the Most High in the front of his kingdom as the appointed Monikongo over the Banabetu Bisolile. Now, when we go back to the Garden of Eden, the Kilangi ya Eden, Kilanga, okay, what we need to understand is, and I hope that the Lord will protect and watch over this, presentation, that will accept it and be honorable in the Malika Makongo as well. When we say we give all Kembo to Tatanzambi, okay, the one thing that happens as the 12 Bikanda or tribes of the kingdom of Congo de Ntotila is Lucifer, when he felt he did no wrong to be kicked out of the kingdom. It's like, why do you shame me? I didn't do anything wrong in his eyes, that when he wouldn't bow down to the image and likeness of Adamo Ukongo. So this is where you get the concept of the lack of repentance or blame game. So at that time, the mentality was, I don't feel that I did anything wrong, so me losing my place, that blame is going to start to fall upon these false gods you created. Okay? Sorry, this heartburn stuff, you know how it go. Excuse me. So, and of course, he doesn't want this message to come out, so it's going to be a fight, I'm sure. I hope they get it done. Everything about his demeanor was to make his people ashamed and to glorify him and not the Father, and to bring shame to the Father for even having created us. Okay? So, of course, being the craftiness that he does and the things that he does, is he wanted to make us pay for this. Okay? Well, he wanted us to feel his pain. Okay? So the mentality that people don't get about this process is the forked tongue, where it's like, um, hmm, sorry, just kind of feel a little weird. My apologies. And this thing is trying to mess up, so it's all about this Wi-Fi stuff. So now the problem is that as Bantu people, and how we interact with the Most High, is we want to um, do our part to, as I say, make Tatanzambi feel glorified and not ashamed. And I know with all of the things that's happening in this world, they always talk about, have you no shame? People talk about stuff like this. And many people don't even know you have been conditioned to always be shameful, no matter what. Okay? So now, our people, when our job is to glorify the Father, and the one thing that he was always frowning upon when he talks about inside chapter 1, it's like, no matter what I do for you, you want to bring me shame. Okay? Well, a lot of people don't understand that this is what led to so many captivities. Okay? Of being kicked out, of being booted out, of being led astray, because he can't permit that. And that's why we know we're living in a world where they have been deceived about this. Okay? Hold on 1 second. I need to pause something here. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so now, when we look at the people in our awakening, and those of the people who have been fighting against us, and many people didn't even know it was like it was all intentional. Because one of the things that when we talk about what the enemy likes to do is to make himself look good so that people don't catch on that he's there. And he's been doing this to all different civilizations throughout time. That's why they have different names for him. You know, one of the things that you'll even get, and this is how I know I'm dealing with people who are trying to create distraction, is they're blaming everything on what they have learned in religion, and they act like many of these things were made up. And I'm like, that's part of the agenda of the distraction too. And it's like, no, all civilizations had some concept of good and evil, a place to go when you're good, a place to go when you're bad, and it's all based off of knowledge that came from the bounty people. Genocide is going to continue to fight this, and the design to continue to give us the protection. So when we talk about his illusion or his plan is, and if you just go look at the school systems, and this is how you knew they had it all crafted out. It was where it was going to be like, I'm going to disappear and really look like the good guy, even though people won't notice that they're really with the bad guy. And it was all about starting with making sure that the children were conditioned to never know that they were being misled. And it took a time, and that's why they went through a lot of the secrets about what went down with that, the conditioning process, how violent it was, and then finally it calmed down, you know. And it was similar to like what they don't talk about when they want out to, when I don't fault somebody like from Kanye West saying that slavery was really a choice and people lose their minds. It's because they don't know what happened. Okay, is that we were a kingdom that chose to become Catholics or Muslims. And when this happened, many of us became the slaves of these religions. Okay? One person even showed it. It's like Islam came with a sword and fighting like crazy, and Christianity came with their cross and their priests. And then they took us out. Okay? And so the problem was both of these religions were like wild beasts, because when you look at Catholicism, they were slaughtering people. They were killing people like crazy when it came to how they were treating people. And they must accept Jesus Christ, and it was bloody. And then they try to act like now they want forgiveness for everything. And, it's like, what are you talking about? I don't even recognize these churches. I took away the lampstand, but they're covering it up. Okay. And it's like, you know, your whole system is still hypocrisy. Okay, so in all reality, they always got to put the stuff out there, so when you see it, you don't question it. People don't even know. Like my brother was talking about commercials. Everything is about the bait and switch. It's a bait and switch spell. Okay, they bait you, they hook you, they switch you. Okay, then you go out and buy. One of the biggest tricks, and this is why Tatan Zombie talks about the Most High. The one is talking about the fact that when you look at the mentality of how the devil hooks people, is about freebies. Okay, this knowledge is for free until now you got to earn it. What is the price for this knowledge? Well, I'll tell you what I want. Okay, this is what sacrifice starts with, and people even in Hollywood know the whole concept. And I've learned this from people that have now brought down the industry, is that you're going to get your first thing for free, and then the contract comes out. Now, if you want another, you got to sign the contract. This is why you get people who don't continue and they disappear. Because some say, "Nah, I took my freebie and I'm going to go." Okay, Some people say, oh no, I'm going to continue and build this and keep going. Okay. And a lot of times that's the whole purpose as to why poverty was made to be a something that people would accept. To be impoverished, make them read certain scriptures that they, of course, modify from us to make them misinterpret how we're going to be rich and they're going to be poor and they'll love it, and then turn it into a game. Basically, what happened is, and the game is, whoever loves us, loves what we tell them to do the most, gets the most out of it. And whoever does what we tell them to do, you're going to always benefit. But for those who resist, you're going to pay for it. We're going to see it as negativity. And when you see the world that we're living in, okay, that's exactly, you know, what we're dealing with today. Everybody is in this mentality that I have to hustle my butt off to get where I need to be. And that's why, like Captain Zombie was saying, Kongo talks about in the scriptures, his people never learned to stop doing this because he gave us all the things we needed. Okay? And we didn't need to worry. We had it. So one of the things that they made us, and they call it, and it's actually a Egyptian god. He throws a temper tantrum. He's with the, he's a magic monkey that goes with the magic wizard. Is your crybaby, you're a temper tantrum. You're throwing, when you want something, it's a spirit that comes into you and you go crying like crazy. Why can't I? And you demand it. You see parents say, "Oh, why are you crying? Okay, I'll give it to you." Okay. Um, this is one of the things, reason why, the Creator said, you need to be satisfied with what I give you and not be like all these other nations, that they play these tricks on. And you can look at all the history, it all runs the same way. You have the power elites, and they have these rules how they govern their kingdoms. And then as there's always the peasants and the people below. Okay, the good stuff goes to the top, the scraps go to the bottom. And that's one of the reasons why, when you look at what Mfumu Yusuf said, well, that's the same way with us. The good things of the Most High come to us, and then everybody else gets, what we take, what we give them. That's part of the reason why he was telling us to say, don't give anything that's of our kingdom to them, or anyone who doesn't deserve this knowledge, or else, he said, because they'll turn it on you. Okay? Because, and that's where they kind of have a mockery with this as well. Don't tell anybody what we're doing, but keep it to ourselves. And because if you give it to them, then they'll know what we're doing, they'll come after us. Okay? It's the reverse. Everything is the reverse. All right? So now, when we talk about knowledge and passing of knowledge and education, and you look at children, okay, when we look at how the devil set up his system was, you go through, and this is why you're going to get people to say, how can you tell me my teacher was mean or was teaching me the devil when they were so nice to me? How can you tell me my pastor or my mom or whatever was so mean when they took care of me? They were so nice to me. They fed me. Okay? How can you tell me that this person was satanic when they were so nice to me? And this is the dilemma that we're facing. Okay? Because they don't understand the concept is that the devil can be an angel of light masquerading, which means they act like they're nice. But in reality, It's with a hidden agenda. And that's one of the reasons why when I came into this week and I talked about this with people, I said, the one thing you don't want to have to do the Most High's work is an underlying hidden agenda. Because when you have a hidden agenda, then you're no different, okay? And the problem is we were inundated with people with a hidden agenda. And many people fell for it. One of the ways that the enemy likes to turn us against our Father is with anger towards each other. And this is why in Fumu Yusu, he spoke about this when he said, you've heard to kill, as he talked about the law, but he said, if I say, if you are angry, then you have killed your brother already, because, excuse me, in order to be angry at someone, you first have to start with hatred. Because there's two different types of, well, let me check that. There's two different types of anger. There's the anger that you did something I didn't like, and I'm trying to correct you, like a parent's anger. And then there's the anger that I can't stand you, and I want you dead. Okay? Or you really piss me off, and I want to punch you in the mouth type of stuff. Okay? And this is what Paola spoke about when he talked about now you want to put me in prison, you want to throw me in jail, you want to beat me up. And this is kind of what the deal was with Kusa Kongo when he was walking, while he would tell his Abafundi, don't tell me, who do they say that I am? Shh, keep it a secret. His miracles and everything. Okay, why was that so important? Because he knew that there were people who would not like to be exposed for the fact that their hearts were bad, okay? Including the people who had no business being there in the first place, that were messing things up to begin with. They hated the Most High because they were, at one point, the bottom, Many of these nations that worship these pagan gods were bottom. And the whole concept was, we need to flip the script on these people and make their God look like the bad God, and look like our God, look like the good God, and still think that he's the bad God at the same time. And this is what many of them did. Okay? So the duality role at that time of the devil was, you're glorifying him while you're also shaming him. But you're at the same time shaming the real God. And this was the whole concept. So by following the pagan beliefs that were based out of Baal worship through Canaan and the Hamitic tribes, we shamed our grandfather in Semel, or Shem, who was not going to do that, and all the others like him. Okay? So the building of idols, worshiping in temples, and sacrificing of blood, okay, was very much an important part of feeding the goat god, as I said, feeding the beast, and feeding the animal god, the cattle god. So it's the reprobate mindedness. So then now these gods turn around and they trick you into doing all kinds of debauchery, sexual immorality, animal immorality, child immorality, all kind of stuff that you can't even speak about, okay, that you see now coming out today. And this is how they were mocking and shaming the Creator for killing the seed of Cain, and said, oh, look at what we just, now you just kill all these people, now look what we're doing to the children of Noka. We're shaming them all over again by getting them to do the very same thing that you killed our children for. Okay? And that's why Tatanzambi said, to be Muntu, or the top, as we have now learned, means that you do not shame the Most High. To be Anansi means that you are shameful to the Most High, bottom. And when Davidi was doing his prayer, it was like, I have I have made you a mockery by shaming you in my sin, and I ask that you cleanse me. Okay, so one of the ways that they tricked us to continue to be a mockery is to convince us by using, this is why they created the house Negro, field Negro split and turned husband against wife and wife against husband and flipped everything upside down, because that is Cain. Cain and his cities, that's why even during some of their celebrations, they would do role reversals. Okay, you're the male, I'm the female, this type of stuff. Or man and man, woman and woman type of things, okay? As all of that was meant to be a mockery or a shaming of the Creator, okay? So what people don't get is this type of spirit always will linger when you worship the creation above the Creator. When you go to Loma, this is what Romans is talking about, okay? So one of the things that we need to understand as a teacher, or even as people who are trying to know, it's like knowledge is always important. Like I said, Hosea 4:6, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. That's why we know Christians and Muslims and many other religions that claim to think they have the knowledge, they're still destroyed because they fail to understand that there's a basic, um, you're still seeing the rules of law through condemnation, which is one of the things that the Creator didn't like, really. That's why he would make his code of captivity so many times, because he said, circumcise your heart. Why are you, it's like, if you are a family, why do you treat each other so badly? Or, I love you. You know, my will is to Zola. Okay? The word will technically means, and I looked at, is wish. So then when he said, will I am William, the I am's wish. But the I am that people don't get is can be also Lucifer I am, and he's the wishing wizard. Whatever you wish, my lord. That's what they call him. Whatever you wish, my lord. Whatever you wish, my lord. Okay, that's where that comes from. Your wish, my lord, so that we can receive our reward. Now, this is why I said to people, and the religion, especially with Christianity, and this is how you can tell, it's like the concept of those who have been called to serve under these fallen angels under oath is to not allow the world to know you are cattle and you're nothing but edi, food, as we used it, el madia, food. You know, I was listening to a pastor who talked about how Hollywood has encouraged the concept of accepting drag queens. Now, I don't know the name of the pastor. I'm not here to shame him or anything. And it's not about him because it's a system that goes back. I said it goes deeper than that. I said when we're children, and this is why they really wanted us to be hypocrites of ourselves. It's like when you are taught to be hypocrites in the church, this will lead to these type of behaviors for us. And then we go and we talk bad about each other and gossip and shame one another. And we break in the Most High's law with this because it says, well, wait a minute, you're in a belief that makes you a hypocrite from your slave masters. So how can you come out here and then talk about someone when the hypocrisy started where you're sitting and where you're standing from the pulpit? Because the people who taught you how to be worshipers of God were themselves hypocrites. Because all of the secret society started every religion, and they do good and bad together. The bad stuff is hidden away in secrecy. The good stuff is how they present themselves as nice. Okay, and this is going to be a fight. I keep getting interference, so I hope it continues. Hallelujah. So when you go to school, okay, and this is what we got to realize: to beat the devil at his own game, we got to understand it's set up on purpose so you don't see the wickedness when they're acting nice. So it's like you go to school, you kindergarten. Why do you think I was a teacher? You would never keep your job if you were disrespecting children to be mean at them and yelling and going crazy because I know they want you to know how to control your classroom. Okay? But the one thing that they don't tell people, and they know how these schools, and this is why you say, how did education get to the way it is? Well, for starters, it was meant and designed from the beginning to fail. But you don't know that. It was eventually going to become so chaotic that it would be like uncontrollable. And now you see why the classrooms are exploding and everything. It was intentional. It was called order out of chaos, all from the beginning. Okay? You were making donkeys. Shh. And the good donkeys get to go and do the good things. The bad donkeys, you don't play nice with the other donkeys, you go to lockup, or you get in trouble, or you get, But see, all along, people keep talking about the law enforcement, how they are another version of slave patrol, slave quarter patrol. Well, that's not false, because in reality, the people who run the world in their masquerade, that's what you are. You are their means to enslave you mentally, physically. But like I said, the prison looks like it's wide open when you're not, when you're doing good. You don't do good, the prison becomes your cage. And that's why usually when you go to prison, you get worse, even though they try to recoup you, because to them you are an animal as far as they're concerned. You are no different than the zoo in many of these people's way of thinking, because this is their payback for how when they were on the bottom, they were the servants. That's where the Cinderella comes in. Oh, do this, do that. They treated you bad. Look down upon you. Go and clean. Go and do this. Go. Okay. They're telling Cinderella from their perspective that they were the ones that got treated as servants. Now, and then, of course, when Kusukongo came, he said, we are supposed to be Tusadi or Musadi, servants. Okay? But the Mosai, his way of doing servitude was um, obedience to the law and the spirits, and he even said in scriptures, don't mistreat the Edomite. You were a stranger in their land. Okay? The concept was our how in order for us to love, to show love, and this is why he talks about get your house in order. People don't even know in this world, in this time, why people's houses don't stay in order with their family members, and you see things go bad, and you see people getting sick and all this other stuff. They talk about get your house in order. Okay? Well, the biggest problem with getting your house in order is the knowledge you have to receive cannot be hypocrisy in order to do that. So it's like what they tricked us to do when they mixed the pagan and the non-pagan is your house is never in order, but we're making you think that it is. So of course, when you have a strong father, a strong mother, obedient children, it's like it can look like the kids are doing good and acting according to your good citizens, being, oh yeah, these people are, and this is what they don't get it is that you're trying to impress the master who is running the show that you don't see is hiding behind the curtain, and it's like you're an obedient donkey. You don't cause trouble. You do what you're told. You follow orders. Okay. You defend your own donkeys when you go in the military. I mean, people, why do you think? Remember, the military had mules and horses, and as far as the people who funded the military were concerned, it was a donkey pulling a donkey and a donkey shooting a gun. This is how much these people looked down upon the people that they hated. You don't get it, okay? Um, and so, but it's not just, it's like I said, we're not battling against against flesh and blood, but against the principalities. This is how much the devil hates it. And see, I'm going to show you how they threw it in your face. When they said, Sentinel Prime said, where other place can you find 8 billion workers? When he said, he showed the people that signed them over when they were fighting the Autobots and the Decepticons, and they made it look like the Autobots were trying to free you from being a slave. And it's like, no, you work for them too, you liar. Okay, that's really Nimrod, and you're still his slave too. And it's like, that's why. And then you had Megatron. Oh, you insect! Bah! That's the goat god. That's really why his face. If you go look at the pictures of him, it looks like a goat face. Okay. Oh, I can't stand you insects. Okay. It's Lucifer. Okay. And this is their war that King Kongo ordered on them, that they're fighting, that you cannot see hiding behind the shadows. All right. So what they have done is they have made our way look horrible, pathetic, sorcery, witchcraft, voodoo, whatever you want to call it. And their way, everything's fine. It's normal. This is just the way life is. You win some, you lose some. Everybody lives, everybody dies. You earn your keep around here. These type of things. Okay? You pay your bills, you do, and not all part of it too. Bill, the word bill is from the duck, the Donald, duck bill, because you are Eddie, food. Okay? That's why everything's based on animals, because you are their food when it comes to the fallen angels and the demons. You are their food. They're eating you. Okay? And this is where a lot of the sicknesses come into play. And also, not just sicknesses, but curses against the Most High. Okay? So, one of the things that in this awakening is, from the perspective of how we're doing things, we always have to look at through our Father's eyes. What does He see? And how is He interpreting things? Because the one thing that has always been the problem for us is He is portrayed as the bad guy. How do we know that? He says, if you sin against me, then the nations will mock me. If you obey me, then the nations will glorify me. Okay? And this is what I'm talking about. And that's why he says, because the Bantu people, and I'm just talking about Bantu, because like I said, not all Bantu is the same. I'm talking about the children of Abana and Saka and Yakubi, Isayele. Because as a nation, we said kick rocks to his law, statutes, and commandments in spirit and in truth. Now look at what's going on with the world. They think they're following the commandments and they think that they're obeying the law when they're always the hypocrite, but they don't see it. Because Esau cannot be a righteous judge. He's a hypocrite. He cannot be in Zuzi because he's always wrong. Even when he thinks he's right, he's wrong because his God is Lucifer. Same with Nimrod, Tammuz, all these other false gods, the sorcerer. I was watching that World War Z. It does, and I hadn't. Now that I've gotten awoke, I said now I see the two um, analogies of these two doctors. There was the one black doctor, they call him Dr. Fishbaum, and I said, oh, I know who that is now, because that's the darker skinned version of the wizard of Egypt. And then you look at Brad Pitt, and if you look and he resemble his face, oh, this is Jesus Christ, our Savior. Kind of look blonde hair, blue eyed. And of course, World War Z is a mockery of Nzambi and Pungu. Now that we know this, is that this is his apocalypse that they're talking about. But of course, the nations have been hidden from this fact. Okay, so it's like the guy that looks like Jesus, and then the doctor with the name that has a resemblance of the Hermes or whatever you want to call him. Now his name, Fauci. He does different names. Okay, that's why they say, why does the guy from the and see that plague mask? Why does it have the stork bill? Nobody paid attention to that. The stork bill goes back to the god of Egypt. The one that had the two snakes versus the one. Okay, so he is the alchemy or the alchemist of the serpent, the Kundalini, versus the alchemy of King Kongo. And the alchemy of the King Kongo, his spirit and the understanding is it's always more powerful than theirs, as long as you maintain your connection. And okay, so when we talk about teaching, the masquerader school always has little kids going up through different levels, which is really climbing the step. I mean, like I told people, I said, unwillingly, you are a secret society member in their society and hidden, and that's where they're behind the shadows, but they're going to say we're not. So all of the education, and that's why I told people, I said, now stop and think about it. The same way you go through the steps in the school happens to be the same way you do it in the church. The little kids have their school, then they go higher and higher and higher. But see, in that school, it says, well, we're learning about God. And then you go over to this school, okay, what knowledge are we learning over here? Whose knowledge is this? Okay, here's the dilemma though. You think in school, you're learning the knowledge about the real creator, which the deception is he's all knowledge. He knows everything. But then they go over to this other place and you're going through the same steps and they're giving you more knowledge. What knowledge? Okay? But the duality is both places are contradictories of each other. Because the mentality is you must keep the people we are the most concerned about in confusion of their own bodies and of their own soul and of their own spirit, among others. Okay? Because we're not the school system, and it goes back to when they talked about, the oil tycoon and stuff like that, when they started to make things scarce, like they tell people that there's limited gold, limited resources, and they started to use that as their means to track their stock market building. When they built on futures, and they started to use people in that part of what they now call the corporation, to where your birth certificate is like water. And I know it was funny because I was adopted, okay, and it's funny because my mom kind of sneaked a peek before, and I always asked her if you ever knew my original name. She says, "Yeah, I snuck a peek. It was Corey Williams." Okay, and Will I am is like saying the one that I am's wish. So William really is another name for, it's a duality. It's Lucifer, Will I am, okay? But at the same time, the Most High says, you do my will or my bidding or my, and see the word. So let me share. I know I've been talking too long. I haven't really been doing this. Let me share the screen, okay? And when we talk about, you know, a lot of the things that people don't get is when we look at the word for will in Kikongo, it's ta or luzolo, my what I love. Okay, tazola, willing, luzolo, it's what I will do in love, is what he's basically saying. Okay, when we look at the word for hate, okay, the word is kumenga. Other people might use different words in Kikongo. I don't know. If you have another word, you can always put it in the chat. Okay, so kumenga is when you say um, this tuzola or kumenga. So it's like to do what Tatanzambi wants in spirit and in truth means is tuzola, or you love me. To go against him means it's kumenga. You're doing what I hate. Okay. So in this concept is where you get your yin and your yang mentality, actually. The spiritual realm of understanding and also your frequencies, because they always work off of water because we come from water. Okay, so this is where the fallen ones have rigged it to where if I can get your frequency offline to our will, okay, um, then you will believe how we instruct you according to your conditioning. And therefore, you will not know that we're really hooking you and fishing you and going out and catching and hooking you and bringing you in as really the fish god of the Philistines, because that's one of the gods that was worshipped by the Canaanites, and also the Tannim, the Kraken, like I told you, that is really Tubal Cain and all that. And these type of things you don't notice because you are disconnected from the Tuzola, the one that I love. That's why we were called Unzolele. Okay? So then Iswa was Kumenga, the one that I don't love, because he turned to wickedness out of his decision. And he thought, well, like he says, you made an ass out of me when I got tricked out of my birthright. Stop and think about that. That's why you can tell he will be the god SAT, because that's the head of a burro. That's the head of a donkey. Oh, you tell me, I'm like Cain. So now I go to the what? The bottom. I'm Anansi, and not Muntu or Nzuzi. Okay? So the whole concept is when Nimrod built his tower, it was a bunch of Mpandas out here, jackasses, saying that we're going to go take down the Most High. And it's like, you're shaming him. I'm getting you. This is Lucifer saying, I'm getting you to shame yourself and shame the Most High, and that resulted in what took place with afterwards. Okay, so like the way to break this connection that constantly hurts us is the Tuzola, or we come here in Zolele, is not just individuals. It's a Kintwadi, it's a Wakanda, it's all of us. okay, that's wanting to put ourselves back. But here is the kicker, because the showman, the master showman, with his black ops and his stealth and everything that he does, he comes slinking in the back door. And this is even like what Kimbangu and Toko talked about. How do you allow the devil to come in is the way you get distracted in many different ways. Even myself, and the problem is that some of the distractions, people always say, "Oh, you're getting distracted." You're always distracted, and I'll tell you how. Because it's like when you're a child, and especially in the system of what I call confusion. Okay, if I say confusion, the land, I'm gonna show you if I can get it. Land of confusion. Let's see if it pulls up Babel. Okay, Mamvanga would be the concept of Babel. Mamvanga is land of confusion. And what is confusion is right and wrong together, or obedience and disobedience together. Okay? So when Tatanzambi talks about he is not the God of confusion, it means I don't put good and bad together. Everything is the right way. So the Mwanda, and this is going to help you understand how we can return to sender a lot of these curses that we're getting upon us, and begin to, because I've seen a lot of visions of how we do things, and how we honor the Most High with the sun and the moon and the creation, but He's not in there. How we do the herbs, because it's like Shaitani taught his people herbs for the simple fact that he wanted to be glorified. So he's like, oh, Tatanzambi has his alchemy, I'm going to give you my alchemy. But my alchemy is always going to come with you getting shot in the foot, meaning that you're going to start off sick anyway, and then my alchemy will make it look like you're good. So now you're going to get mud in your eye. I'm going to put mud in your eye, and then I'm going to take it out. This is where they get the copy. This is how they get the mockery of Nfumu Yusu when he made the man that was blind, and he got the mud and put it in his eye and made him see. And now you can be clear. Oh, you got mud in your eye. Now you can see. Okay? So the Inkisi was his body because his body was clean. Okay? Even though he may have walked with a staff or walked with, the Inkisi was his body because he was clean. He said, no one can accuse me of any sin. So when he was obedient to Zola, the love of the Creator, his body remained in perfect harmony with the nature. He was never like Cain. So he never had any excuse to be called a donkey. So then he said, when he came in on the Impanda, when he said Kosana, 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 was to say, you will never see me be this donkey. I control this donkey. Okay? Well, what Kaina did, and he tricked the whole world with this, is this ruins the fact that I get paid from these donkeys. As he was teaching us, when we were getting taught to break the Most High's law, statutes, and commandments, you are Anansi Umpanda, the bottom donkey. That's why you'll see people affiliate the dog and the donkey in some similar concept, because they're like the same. When you say, once again, dog, Mbwa, Yimbwa, we call Nimrod Yimbwa, okay, Mbwa, dog, okay. That's why they do that. Do not give what's righteous. And what was the pig? The pig was considered played in the mud, frolicking in the mud, ate whatever. It was the garbage can of the earth. It was that's why you'll see, You want me to know how to tell the truth? You ever seen the cartoon The Flintstones? And Fred, the garbage disposal, was a boar. It was a boar that was looking like a reptile. And I said, these people put it right in your face. Okay? And they knew it was the garbage compactor of the ground, which is why we were really not supposed to eat it. But one of the things that Mfumu used to, and what the Most High was saying is, yeah, you won't go to hell if you ingest something like this, but it's not supposed to be, like how they trained us to do it, eating it on the regular, because eventually it will jack you up, as you can see what's going on with people today. Okay, and like I said, they mocked him when he said, "Oh, it's not what you eat; it's what comes out of your mouth. It comes out of your heart." Oh, so now that means, and I know you can tell that the children of Yapet, like I told you, that they want people to know about what it says in the B about Alexander. Well, what were they eating? They could eat the stuff that they were eating was disgusting, as I did in a previous video. Okay, so it's the Creator says, but common sense. Okay, as we're teaching our people, it's still about obedience to the Spirit. Okay, and when he talks about when we say what we say out of our hearts, and this is why, when they talk about anger, and the Lucifer used this as the greatest tactic against us. Let me get him mad, and he'll curse himself. Let me get her mad, and she'll curse herself. Let me get them ticked off about something, and they'll curse themselves. Because they won't use their head anymore. They'll lose their head, and they'll say something that offends the Creator, and now they're cut off. Okay? Let me make them envious of one another. And if they get envious, then they'll want to harm each other for what they don't have or what they do have. Okay? That's why when we talk about the law, statutes, and commandments, is how Tatanzame was showing this is how we live. This is how we behave. Okay? So as long as we are in tune with his, like I said, the whole purpose of the temple that people misunderstand is about power transfer. That's what it was for. It was about transferring his power from the priest to you. So then if the priest was tainted and he tried to do a power transfer, then you become tainted. That's the whole purpose. When Solomon built the wrong temple, he's like, no, this is now tainting us. Or if the priest wasn't pure, or if he wasn't holy, or he wasn't consecrated, okay, now he's giving us bread. He's giving us tainted bread because he's unclean, okay? Or you go and you do something that taints the bread, like they went and sell it behind the temple. Okay, this now you're cursing us, okay? Which is why they wanted better leadership. And Tatanzambi was, always about this concept that it's my way, not yours. And if you want to go against me, then you bring curses upon yourself. Okay? And this is the whole concept. He is the Father. He knows what's best for you. You say that I know what's better for me, then you're no different than Lucifer. And that was part of the reason is it causes us to shame him and shame his kingdom. And so we become a kingdom divided on earth because the Most High's kingdom is never divided in spirit. So now you go to the kingdoms of Lucifer that they're not divided against themselves, but they're always hypocrites. The law is bad and good at the same time. You can't do that. Okay? But he masquerades in such a way that when he teaches, okay, it's nice. Just to give you an idea, when you go to churches, you go there and you see, especially with many churches, you get an invitation. Oh, come and sit down, be with us. And they even start giving you out free information about what they do. I said everything about Lucifer is about freebies to hook you. And that's one of the way he mocks what Mfumu Yusuf said, freely you receive, freely you give. And people don't even know that. Why do you think you go to people who go to Bible college and he'll give them, they'll get grants. They'll go and get loans. They'll go and get, they'll go and get people tuition reimbursements. Okay? And all this time, contrary to what they have been thinking, you're getting tuition reimbursement on Cain's knowledge, masquerading as Bantu knowledge. Okay? So now, and this is the really big laugh he gets on us. I'm giving you free tuition, free room, free board, free everything on your mockery. And he's laughing. And the knowledge that he's teaching is actually lowering your frequency to be almost like an animal, like a donkey. So then everything, like the sports, like I said, it's all a game. The ball is in his court, his game, because he is the judge. And so because it's like now when he took us into slavery, it was an invite. Oh, my world is, look at this. We do better than you doing the sorcery. It was an invite. Oh, so we took the bait. Oh, come and see what we got here. Oh, look at this. Oh, paints what they call the big picture. Okay. So like when Davidi, when he was talking in this psalm, he says, Tatanzami, in your grace, have mercy upon me. Why? In your great compassion, blot out my crimes. You want him to be compassionate because you have shamed him. You have made him a God that has now disobedient children. Just to give you an idea what I'm referring to. You raise your children, you guys go out in public. What is the one thing many parents are going to tell you? Don't you act a fool out here. Don't you shame me out here. You better, I raised you better than that. And see, this is the mentality we must come back as children, as the bride, is that this is what the Most High is saying to us. I raised all of you better than any of these other nations. How many times do you have to shame me to the world and they make a mockery and now they laugh, and the people that they're tricking don't even know they're doing the same. Okay, they are a mockery because my people became a mockery. Okay, so now he says, wash me completely from my guilt and cleanse me from my zona. Okay, what is the guilt? I made a fool out of myself. I made a jackass of myself. I became like Cain, who said I didn't sin against you, or like Lucifer, what sin did I? What are you talking about? Why you kicked me out? Okay. For I know my crimes, my zona confronts me all the time. Against you and you only have I sinned and has done this evil from your perspective, so that you are right in accusing me. Now, people talk about, like in Jeremiah, no man can die for someone else's sins. People, let me explain to you what they're talking about. Because they take it all out of context. Oh, no Messiah could have ever come. That's why I know this is how the secret society play the game to continue to send you in circles. When they do these things, I said, okay, understand what Lamilia and the context of what he was saying when he said that no man can die for your sin. What he's saying is, if I go and I commit a sin against the Most High, I can't go tell my brother, hey, will you take my place? That's what he's talking about. Okay? When you talk about what Mfumu Yisu did, okay, Mfumu Yisu, what he did is he became the unhypocritical high priest that never needed to have any sacrifices to the goat god. So what that meant was, because Christianity has this completely wrong, okay? Oh, he died for our sins. That's not totally accurate. What he died for, and he really didn't die because he's alive, and he really actually was gone before he was out of the body, and he was gone before he was talking like it was a ventriloquist act. When he said, Eli, Eli, Sabachthani, okay? Father, behold your father, mother, behold your son, that part. And he was already knocking at the gates of Tartarus before he was like, wait a minute, he's still sitting there talking. Who's knocking at the gate? Okay. All right. So that's why Philippi said he was gone already. That's what they took. They didn't put the book of Philip in there. And people want to say, oh, I said, okay, so Philippi, why do you think they hid it? So Philippi didn't say that. He was gone already. And he was one of the Abafundi. Why do you think Rome didn't put that in there? Because they want the emphasis on the grave. Oh, then they want to say, oh, he rose from the grave, which is all about the other false god, the festival of Ishtar. Okay? His body was taken with him, and they don't get this. Let me explain why. His body was pure, so it became part of the temple. Like he said, I will break this. He fulfilled what he said. I will take down this temple and rebuild it back in 3 days. Like you get the sign of Jonah. Okay? What did he mean? His body now became the earthly temple of the entire world sanctuary, like it was supposed to be with Adamayu. But it was given for his people to be the connection of the temple that the Most High intended for us to praise him and worship. So he is the high priest to worship the Most High, like we used to do. That's why he said, it's my Father's prayer, not my Jesus' prayer. I'm not the one with the power. He is. Okay? But I am his high priest now because I'm the non-hypocrite. Okay? That's why no one who's a hypocrite can stand there when he said, anybody who says that I am Messiah, they fool you. What do you mean by that? It means that if they have made the Most High angry and become a donkey or made a jackass of themselves, okay, then they cannot be me. I never did that. And see, the fact that Christianity doesn't see that they mix pagan with non-pagan says, you have received the one who was called the donkey, Cain, Tammuz, the bottom, Nansi. So then how can they purge you of anything when they are filled with, that's what he said. He became sin. No, how can he become sin? He couldn't become sin. No, he became sinless. Okay? And this is the joke that they playing on. Is like, no, he didn't become sin. He became sinless. He didn't do anything wrong. So now you have the hypocrite telling you, because he was the god of sin, Simon the sorcerer, Simon Pata, whatever, the hypocrite, doing Kindoki versus Manavela La Power. Okay? So now when you see Davidi saying this prayer, he's saying to us, I need you to cleanse me because I have embarrassed you, Father. I have made an embarrassment of myself and you to the world. And see, a lot of people don't get it, is that's why when you embarrass the Father, he's going to embarrass you. Okay, you're gonna make the world see me as a fool, or the same way as Lucifer, then I'm going to show you how much of a fool you can be. That's one of the reasons why Masenesi, when he was talking to the Pharisees, scribes, and hypocrites, and the true understanding of the scriptures, not their modified intentions, is he understood this. My people, the Tatanzami's people, have made a mockery of his temple by even allowing these outsiders to come into his kingdom and say that they are us. He said that was the first mistake. And then on top of that, now they're interpreting the law to you. That's even worse. When they are the ones that were called Anansi. Okay? The bottom. Okay? So how can they teach you the law if they were the Anansi and you were not? Okay? And that's when I talk about how teaching is great. Knowledge is wonderful to have and know it. But it's like they always go to saying is, it's not what you say, it's how you say it that determines on whether or not people are going to want to hear what you have to say or you don't want to have to say. And like, the one thing that we have gone through 500 years of is insults from other people and other nations. So the concept is when we're coming back, and this is how they sabotaged everything. They got us to once again insult each other, like they always do, when the other people know they're playing a game. And then they come acting like they're the good teachers when they're the hypocritic teachers who are still doing the paganism, the Cristiano stuff with King Zeus in Greece with Abantwe Kingunza that we never had, that wasn't ours. Okay. And so, like I said, what is the difference? Anything that goes to the Canaanite pagans, you don't do. Anything that the Bantu people do that doesn't resemble any Canaanite, that's ours. Okay? Anything that resembles anything that Hamitic tribes have ever done, we don't do those things. Okay? And so when we go forward and teach the Most High's way, is to come with the understanding that the Mwanda has all knowledge and can teach anybody. Let's go back to Yosefu. They criticized that man by saying there's no way he can stand here and rule over us with this. He's not qualified. Oh, did you forget who I am, Isolele? Did you forget who your God is? And the next day he came out and he knew more than anybody. What? The Umbasi comes and fills him up. Okay? And that's the kind of thing that is continuously always on my mind, is why do we seem to forget the God we serve can change somebody overnight, overnight, to be something that you were like, whoa, this guy was stupid, now he's smart. How did he do that? And he said, how many times do I have to prove this? I can teach anybody anything whenever I feel like it, or when it is my desire to do so. And that's the concept that, and at the same time, when we go to teach this to each other, look at the system that was created by the enemy. Everybody comes through, and the teachers teach them in a certain type of way. Like I said, I'm telling you, the enemy, what his whole goal was to continue to make the nations see the Creator as this wicked God. See, look how his people can't even keep their act together. See what's going on here? And they did that on purpose. I said, That was an op. It was an op since Toko was here. It was an op since Kimbangu was here. It was always about making sure that those that they could turn would make him glorified and make the Most High decreased and embarrassed, an embarrassment to the world. See, you don't want to follow that God. And see that what that does is when people see, well, you know, there's not much difference than where I came from than where I am. You know, and I saw this even when I was there. I was like, well, this is no different. I said, they saying this and that. I said, that's the type of stuff we hear back home. And I said, the Most High said, that's the problem. We believe it when the enemy comes and sows the bad seeds. And you didn't see them come in there and create confusion. This is the whole concept of the tares and the wheat. He says anybody who comes in to sow confusion among the Banabetu, you are Cain. Because Tatanzambi is not the author of confusion. Okay? Anyone that causes my children to sin against my Father through their teachings, you are going to go lower. And he is our Father, as we say. That's why he said, our Father. Whose Father is he really? He's the Bakongo people's Father, and then they come through us. He's the Banabeta of Isoleve's Father, and then we teach them. The inheritance goes to Tatanzambi's children. But what do we always do? We let Lucifer come in and trick us to be mean to each other and get angry and frustrated about things. We're not understanding where are we coming from. We have been scattered among all of this filth and disgusting deception. You can see it all over the television. You can see it all over the radio. You can see it everywhere. Okay? Flipped up, upside down, mind backwards. And remember, he gave us that reprobate mind. Now he's the one that has to clean it. Okay? And it goes through the same process. You got to make me look better than the one that they think is their God. And look what he's doing. He's tricking them. Oh, come on, nice. Here's your free this, here's your free that. Oh, yeah, come on in, put on a good show. Keep to your script. Don't let them know what you're doing to them. Let them understand that their sicknesses is just a part of life. And yet they go to church and they look for healing and they're always pray, pray, pray. And it's like, when did the Messiah just go pray, pray, pray? When did the disciples just go pray, pray, pray? No. Because the reason why they want you to go pray, pray, pray is because you are the Edi, the food. P-R-E-Y and P-R-A-Y are the same. Okay? That's why the Sambu was always the problem, because he would pray, 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 because he was conditioned to do that. We're not understanding you must do. Noka didn't pray the ark to become alive. He had to go build it. But yet they condition us and the rest of the world that your abilities are instantaneous all the time, okay, without going through the learning stages. That's why they took out the other scriptures when Kepha said, he said, Paola or my enemy is teaching the Gentiles or the pagans without even giving them the proper 6 years of whatever it was that he was training them. Ironically, how does that work? 6 years of training. Okay. Let's go back to 2017. It's 7 years ago, 6 years ago. There's a lot of things I didn't understand. Ironically now, I know way more than I did 7 years ago. And the one thing they always talk about when you're a teacher, and I remember this, or someone who's revealing anything, like I said, I'm a watchman, really. My job was to basically tell the world how the devil deceived them. I did that. That was my job, and I showed them. And you can go on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, whatever. I gave them what happened. I said he made you think that his children were the ones that you should be going to be saved, and that the Most High's children were the ones who needed to be saved when we were already there. And so now the world doesn't get it. This is like the days of Noah. He flipped it upside down again. He made you think he was your savior, and everybody rejected the Most High, and now he did it again. He's convincing you, I'm your savior, and the Most High is the wicked God. He did it again. In the 500 years span, it matches like it did back in the days of Noah when they preached for 500 years, and they did, oh, it's just 120. And like the 120, you know what's funny? I discovered, okay, I discovered the Knights Templar thing. It was one that said it was opened up. I checked this. It was opened up January 9th, 1599. So it was like 425 years ago when I calculated it, and I said, I saw this thing where they were going to be closing one on the 6th, which I know now that that's a pagan holiday, and it's an 11 when you calculate it. It's like 425 is an 11. It's 7 and 4. Ironically, I was born in 74. And I knew that they knew at that time, as I'm seeing people now saying, this guy is a threat to us. They always knew that. And then you have the 47 backwards. Okay, the 47 goes into the time frame when Toko began the process of getting ready to bring his ministry to the world. Right after World War II ended. And that's when he was going to bring down the tabernacle so that he can go and get the church back. And he had to go the way he was dressed because the world was wearing suits and dresses and ties and everything. Okay? Now, Kimbangu, his job was to be crying from the wilderness out in things. So he was wearing the clothes of a person who was, rummaging through the forest like a wild man, kind of. Which is why when I learned when they had Rob, it's funny because when they did the movie Jumanji and they had Robin Williams coming out looking like that, that was mocking Kimbangu. And I was like, I just now got that revelation. I said, oh, because he was in the jungle. He was in the jungle, right? And it's like, oh, and he was a wild man. And, he was like, he knew the jungle and he knew the way. And I'm like, wait a second. Kimbangu kind of looked like that coming out of that. Okay. And the reality is now, as Tatan Zombie keeps saying to me about our people, is we always want to do the creation above the creator. And so this allows us to shame the Father rather than to raise him up. And I'm going to go back to that scripture. Okay, we're going to go there. And see, that's the whole concept. Davidi was making a plea for him and the nation himself. We need to quit shaming our Father before men. And we need to honor our Father before men. And see, now when you see the world we're living in, this is why they have their own androgynous agenda in front of everyone. Man, woman, woman, man, man and man, woman and man. And I'm going to tell you, that's why he did this. He's like, look, we're going to go over it carefully. People say, oh, how come you don't do the King James? I say, King James was a Mason. Or he was part of their organization. That's why, a lot of that stuff, he had certain truths, and then they hid it because there was no J. It was Isus, all that stuff. And it was no, Jeremiah was Jeremiah with the I, from Saula. You see, they say Shaul, but it's Saula. Saulu, a slave of Messiah Yeshua. I don't say the H because the H stands for Horus. Messiah Yeshua, because see, the God people, the Yiddish or the Aramaic was spoken by the Phoenicians, which was our language mixed with theirs and the Canaanite. An emissary because I was called and set apart from the good news of Tatanzambi. And Fumu Yahweh promised this good news in advance through his prophets in the Tanakh is like the Nkanda. That's what we call Tanakh, is what we call the Kanda. And the Tanakh is really a Phoenician book. You're going to find that out. It concerns his son, his Bwana. He is descended from Davidi physically. He was powerfully demonstrated to Benan Muntu spiritually. Because why? He was spirit first, then he became flesh. That's why he was never really a man. He was the let me tell you something. He was the identical twin of his grandfather, Adamoya. They look like each other. Okay? That's why he said, you seen me, you seen the Father. That's why you seen Adamoya, you seen the Father. They were the same. Okay? And even the Maliki Kongo that had the resemblance. Makaya. Okay? He's descended physically. He was powerfully demonstrated to Benan Muntu, set apart by having been resurrected from the dead. Okay, he was already up, but And Yeshua Messiah are Fumu. Through him we receive grace. Okay, when you go to the Kikongo word for grace, because I told you grace is another one of those Greek gods that they threw in there. Okay, Ndulola, or Intima Yambote. The heart, see, Intima Yambote is what we receive in Dolula. Okay, so Intima Yambote, this is what we are. Okay, now, on behalf promoting trust, grounded obedience among all the pagans and Gentiles, including you who have been called by Yeshua Messiah. Now, this I'm gonna put this in asterisks, called by him. This is what I keep trying to tell people. The calling comes from the priest. He makes his Ngangan Zambi from the tabernacle. Okay, so the tabernacle. I don't know why I don't have a word. See, it's the religions. They don't have a word for it. Unless I'm spelling it wrong. Tabernacle. Let me see if I'm spelling it wrong. That's weird. Tabernacle. Okay, yeah, I spelled it with the U. My fault. I did spell it wrong. Sorry. So, the Inzoyan Tenta. Okay? Now think about that. Remember the word tent? Okay? In Sampa or in Zoan Zambi. Okay? So the high priest in Gangan Zambi and Fumu okay, he called, remember I told you when he did his meeting with the Abafundi, he was making his priests. He was consecrating the bread, he was doing the wine. Okay, just like when, and I'll give you an example. In the other scriptures, I can't remember, it was in the, I think it was in the, it's either in the missing text when, or in also the Legend of the Yaoundé. He said, when Tatanzambi blessed Israeli in Zolere, what did he do? He brought wine. Okay, he brought wine, and he had meat and wine. Okay, so meat, musuni or mbisi, and wine, binu, together. So the bread was a representative of the meat. Okay, Pane or the Umpamba and the Binyo, okay, was the consecration that he became the holy temple or the Nzonzambi or the tabernacle, okay, the high priest, okay. So now, when we say this, it goes to what it says it says, he calls you to be the gun. He calls you. That's why you say, I tell people, the Bantu people have really been warped by what they have showed. It's like you don't find the Most High come find you. The high priest you don't go find the high priest come find you. That's why we say, oh, we found Jesus. Was he even looking for you? We found him for me. Was he looking for you? Okay, when Simon Toko came to preach to the us to come away from the paganism, he was sent by whom? He said, the high priest is speaking from my stomach. Okay, let me show you when he said that again. All right, in the book. Let me just explain like he says it. And that's what he talks about, the salvation of the Mfumu. Many people have that mania. I can do whatever I want because I will be saved by grace. Okay, but let's not forget that Mfumu Yahweh saved everyone by grace. Then there would be no lake of fire for the wicked. I tell you again that if your name or figure are not found in the Pemba Kalunga or Zulu, you will not enter into the 1,000-year kingdom or the kingdom, nor will you enter the reign of eternity of Solomon. Mbote, or when we say New Solomon, okay, Mpa or Yampa Solomon, okay? So he's saying only where there will be weddings and enjoyments in the well-known streets of Yampa Salama, or who will also reign, will come out. It is Tatanzambi who knows how to save the servants, who will choose one by one. Okay, he will choose. Watch this. He, Tatanzambi who knows how to save the servants, he will choose one by one in all of the religions and sects that speak for him. The voice of Tatanzambi is asking you to listen, he says, to salvation. So what does that mean? He called us out of these religions one by one. He's picking the wheat, okay? So now, when he calls us to come back to the kingdom of Congo, the Totilan spirit and in truth, then it's our responsibility, even mine, to not shame him before the nations like Lucifer has tricked us to do so many times. You must shame Lucifer and glorify Tatanzambi. How do we do that? Zola, Kintwadi. And in the same process, you rebuke those who say we're going to stay in Egypt. No, we're not doing any more of these pagan mixtures. That's why even Toko said the Bible does not read exactly the way it's written. Kimbangu said the same. So if you take the Bible word for word, then you are a pagan. Because they even I said even there was I said the rabbi, he goes, we burned the original scriptures and we changed it. So they made you a pagan 1900 years ago. Mm-hmm. Okay. So like I said, the only way that we will now be able to operate with the Father is the Abantwe Kingunza. That's the way it worked. Abantwe Baklisto Kingunza. Fumayusu was not a Christian. not by any means. And you've even heard people like in the Nation of Islam, they've said the same thing. He said his people were called the people of the way. How do you say it in the language that they won't talk in their mouth? They won't cross that line. Abantwe. The Abantwe was nothing but any paganism in it. That's how Mosai taught. That's why when Adamayo came out of the paganism, he started Abantwe Kingunza, dancing, singing, playing the music. Okay, um, cleansing with teaching this to Nseta, the Sanza, those type of things. Okay, it was not like how there was not the temple was the earth, not the building. All right. So he says, who went to heaven were the prophets Eliah and Hanoka, those who both did not die. They were alive to the Zulu. The rest of the prophets all died by faith and were not promised to go to Zulu because the way to the Zulu was not yet open. It was Clistu who opened the way to the kingdom. So now he's showing you they were waiting fourth heaven, if I'm not mistaken, for those who were righteous, not the third or below her, because unless you were wicked, you were third and below her. And they were waiting for him to open the Pemba Kalunga tabernacle, because until that time, no priest was. Okay, so after we came back and the Greeks came with Antiochus and messed up the temple, that was the last time it was really open, was when Yaoundé Maccabee. But at that same time, people still needed the righteous priest to show up. There were still people sinning. Okay? The Most High waited to open the tabernacle in the Pemba Kalunga when the unrighteous, when the one who was clean, Mbote, was there and he opened it up. Okay? That's why he had to go fight for Mosi. Okay? The prophet of prophets, the Nabi of Nabi died, but they were waiting for another land where they will all be governors, Hebrews 11:13-16. And Tanzami Kristu went to Solomon to enter all flat, mixed race, and black Christian Kristu who believe in Kristu, all will be like the sand of the sea. Now, now see, when we talk about this, what version of him? Cain? No. It has to be the Chuluba. So there are many people who believed in the Chuluba before without mixing it with Cain. So that's why he said, like the sand of the sea. All will have as their head king. The children of the whites and the children of blacks will constitute a single head for a king. So there are no more separation of races, and that will be great that day. And see, even Kimbangu, when he made his prophecy, he said that the white will become black and the white will become white. But at the same time, he also said, and people don't get this, what the one said is that there is a place. That's why when I was talking to the person who was a Gentile, they said, I know I'm a Gentile. She's a Spanish-speaking lady. And she was a Hispanic lady, you could tell, or maybe she's Portuguese, I don't know. And she said, I know, I hope it's probably, if it's I apologize, but the person spoke, I'll just say the person spoke. I didn't catch the name. I'm sorry if I got it wrong. And said, I know he's pleased with your work and I know who I am. And I said, look, Kepa, the one who was the Tadi, went to go preach to the pagans like all the others so that you could come through the King Congo way, which is what our goal was supposed to do. Our job, we messed it up. When we had our chance to do it in the Kingdom of Congo, once again, we shamed our father. So now what's going to happen is many Bantu descendants, when they come to find out that the heavens were shut the whole time since the kingdom of Congo fell, because King Nzinga was there. He was the one that had the temple, that had the heavens open. That's why they knew. Rome was like, hey, oh no, when 800 years ago, when he came back, it's like, oh, they opened back up the heaven. I told you it was a sign in the spiritual world that the earth was changing. They said, oh no, this is not good. And even the other people said, oh, we found an 800-year-old. They didn't find no, they saw the light shining in the spiritual world. It's open. That's why they had to send the dog god to hide it and shut it once again. Oh no, we can't have this, which was what we have to glorify our imposter god, Zeus, over this King Congo guy. No way. Okay? So they shamed us through their trickery to make us go and argue once again about what the Most High wanted. And so now he turned his back and the heavens are closed. When they found out that the only way you can get back to it being open now is with Toko and those that he has asked to help him, okay? But at the same time, we also have to make sure that we don't fall for the agenda of the enemy, where he came in, and I said, I saw it plain as day. I watched it happen from the time the awakening started in 2019. I watched how many Americans and other people came in, and Hebrew Israelites and whatever, and I saw all of the arguments ensuing. I guess even if it was happening even before that, because I started doing some preaching even before this, and I said, I know what's happening here. I said, I see it plain as day. I said, they know that this is actually what we need to understand. So then what they have done is they've interfered with the leaders, and they started mocking them, and they started doing all these different things. I said, this is intentional. They want them to start getting frustrated so that our people, I said, this has got to be being, I said, this is being operated from the secret society, and also the this has got to be an op through the alphabet soups and everything that have. And then I said, when I learned the story about what happened with Mobutu, from even what Toko said, I said, oh, well, Mobutu was working with the CIA. We know that. That's a fact. You got pictures of him, okay? And then he talked about him going to the Kimbangus. I said, oh, okay. And then I found out the story about what was going on there. And I said, well, this makes perfect sense. They have infiltrators. So with infiltrators, they know that our job is to eliminate the threats of any chance that anyone coming to be like Toko would be neutralized. Okay, and I figured, I was like, yeah, I said they've been trying to neutralize me. I know this, okay, because I remember as I was growing in my spirit, man, I was in arguments with some of these people because I knew I was questioning a lot of the Hebrew Israelite doctrine. I was starting to question Christianity's doctrine a little bit more because I was always leery of certain things, that some things were inconsistent. And I said, and I was getting, and you could tell the people who were trying to take me down, even major pastors who had been preaching and everything and went through all this stuff and calling me wrong. And I'm like, well, then you tell me how many people you've raised from the dead. No answer. Okay. So then, as I got to learn certain things about our way, and let me go to the scripture that talks about this. Let me go to, let's go to the Book of Truth. I think it was I need to go to. Let's go to, actually, no, let's do this one. Let's go to the the Gospel of Yakubi. Okay? And I know that with some of these other books, you're going to see that there's other things that they talk about. And it says, um, Yakubi, a servant of Tatanzambi, of the Master Musa anointed Messiah and Fumu Tatanzambi, to the 12 nations dispersed abroad, greetings. See, the 12 nations. See, so you see that each Abafundi became a nation. Greetings, proceed joyously, my fellow believers. Whenever you face various challenges, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. Let perseverance finish its job so that you may become perfect and complete, lacking nothing. So the point is, in this walk, many of us are searching. That we were told in Christianity we were perfect, we were complete. But yet it's like, then why do I not feel like I am changing the way that they're talking about? Something is wrong. And I've talked to plenty of brothers and sisters like, yeah, it was like I would go pray and it's like nothing. I would go fast and do all these different things and it was like, why is everybody changing but me? Or so they say, right? And I said, that's because with this whole sorcery mentality, if you believe, it's like what they call, they talk about people who, if you believe it long enough, it will become a reality to you and you'll make it look like it happened. You can will it to happen yourself, okay? So it's like you believe it long enough that you really think that something did happen, when in reality, it was all part of their masquerade. They triggered it because they're watching people through their spirits. They can lock on. So that you believed it, look, oh, look what happened. So that he granted your wish. Okay? And I said, but how long did it take you? Oh, it took me a month, a week. Read the scripture. Many prayers are answered, like that. Conversation, like the telephone. Okay? We don't get it. But if anyone lacks wisdom, now watch this. But if anyone lacks wisdom, as Tatanzamdi, who gives generously to all without blame. Okay, who gives generously with all without blame. What do we say with blame? One of the things that when we even teach this all the time, even in this upside down world, take responsibility for your own action. And this is where the masquerade even checks in with the hypocrite. He's like, yeah, but yet they don't take action. They go like my father said, yeah, somebody got to go investigate the investigators. Yeah, that's always been the case. You got to take responsibility for and see. But the problem is they created the problem. Oh, now take responsibility for your own action. But you shot me in the foot from the time I was a baby, and now it's my fault. But at the same time, now I must take responsibility for my own action. What are you about taking responsibility for yours? The blame game. Oh, the dragon loves this. Let's start with the blame game. You fell. Whose fault is it? Okay, let's go back to what Davidi said to the Most High. I'm the one that sinned against you, Tata. Cleanse me. Okay? It's my fault. I told you, what was the biggest thing that made the Most High angry in Eden? They ate what they did when they were supposed to. Oh no. See, it's her fault. No. See, it's the snake's fault. And then of course he cursed the snake, but then he had to curse them too, because it's like, what are you talking about? That's not a repentance. That's not a repentance. You have to take accountability. Now you that's like how with the Cain. Well, you knew I was going to kill a Bailey. You should have stopped me. What are you talking about? That's not how this works. The mentality is, you make a mistake, you pay for it. Okay? That's why the whole concept about Kuso Kongo and everything is blown out of proportion. He is going to sit there and say, wait a second, I'm the high priest, I'm listening to, he's like, I'm the high priest, I'm listening to this. But see, here's the problem. If you're not even connected to the Itempeli or the tabernacle of the Most High, like I said, go sacrificing your goat. Now it's the goat god versus the goat versus Mosi. That's what's there. The goat god's talking to Mosi. Oh, this guy. Mosi, oh, okay, guilty. And you say, well, where's the high priest in this? What are you talking about? I don't know you. You said I don't exist. And Tata, boom. That's what he means. The most he's going to judge you. Then you see all these things happening to you and what's going on in your life. And your gift is still there. People got many powerful gifts. Okay? But now, if you have accepted the priest of the tabernacle, okay, he now intercedes as, like I said, he is your defense attorney as well as the high priest. I'm listening to the matter. Tata's listening to the matter. Okay, as the high priest of the temple of Zabanzambi, that's why he said, I have the power to forgive sins. Okay, Tata, I'm going to forgive this person. Okay, read. Okay? That's what you don't understand. The Christians are out here talking about, oh, Lord Jesus, forgive me. And he's like, you're talking to the Baal's tabernacle. When you show up in front of Tatanzambi, you're soiled, full of rags and looking all nasty. What happened here? My soul is not as filthy. What was I doing? You were talking to the wrong God. You're talking to the wrong God. You're talking to the Anubis over there in Egypt. Seriously. You are. Or you talking to Sol Invictus. Sol Invictus cannot purge you of any sins. You go back to the goat god. You stay dirty always. Because all that power goes there. And it will be given to you. But you must ask with faith. Faith in whom? That's what he said. The Pharisees have cut off the connection to the Pema Kalunga. What God do you have faith in? Oh, I have faith in the God of Christianity. The God of Christianity is Sol Invictus, is Zeus. They didn't tell you that. That's why he got mad when we went to Rome. He's like, we don't need that God. We defeated him. And now you're praying to him? Go out to the be with the people that want to worship Zeus. And it will be given to you. But you must ask without any doubt. For those who doubt, like it says, when you doubt, for those who doubt are like waves of the sea and tossed by the wind. So when you go before Tatanzambi and you ask and you speak to the Umbasi that goes to talk to him, if you have this connection, you have to not doubt that he's going to help you with what you ask. Then why do you ask? Then stay out there. He asks you, he don't believe it. So let him keep going all over the place. Or she. Okay? They like, it's like when it's all Phineas and Zipporah. I don't know if we should do this or not. You lie to the Holy Spirit, then die. Then don't go. You go to Dr. Sheol then. Okay? For such a person should be not expect to receive anything from Tatanzambi if you doubt. That's why Kepa said, it took the Toma. Why you doubt? What's up with that? Do you not believe? Okay. But uncertain, see, watch this. Being uncertain and unstable in everything they do. See, why can you see that Christians feel confident that when they don't doubt, when they've been taught that they don't seem like they're unstable, but yet they don't see they didn't change because they have that sorcery on them. I'm taken care of. What am I? That's why he said that I'm afraid of nothing. Oh, I do nothing wrong. Okay, because it's like I said, you believe in one or the other. When you do that, you're stable on both sides, but one side is causing instability on the inside. The other one is keeping you stronger. That's why, as you're heading towards death, you're getting weaker instead of stronger. It's the complete opposite. I've even remember a pastor talking about the Abafundi, saying they looked like they were old, but they were strong. Yeah, we've been duped. Okay, and there was even an oath talking about shortening people's lifespans and making them weaker and accepting it. Be uncertain and unstable, yet in the companion of humility, yet the companion of humility will rejoice in his position. Okay, so then how do we show the true God of creation to the world? Humility. Our humility to him exposes the arrogance of the idiots. If we are now, and that's what I'm saying, then you'll see the people around you that's trying to sabotage. You will pay attention to, oh, this guy shouldn't be here. Where you coming from? Oh, no, you're trying to ruin this. You have no intentions of leaving Babylon. Oh, one of the things, and that's why he said his whole purpose of speaking in parables was to embarrass Lucifer for those who would not understand. Because they were trying to do what? Embarrass him. So they always going to come asking you, it's like I said, when you call yourself a representative of the Most High, they're going to try to ask you questions to embarrass you. You know how many people have already exposed with that? It's like, no. Let's go back to the beginning. Where was the church? Nobody had clothes on. So where was the building? So why are you going inside a building? We got bamboozled. You got hoodwinked. They didn't even have clothes on. Okay? So who was the tabernacle? And who was the priest? That's what Mfumu Yusu came to tell us. When you no longer, you can walk around with no clothes on and not be ashamed, because that's what it means. If you're not shamed, but see, those people now are saying, "Oh, I'm naked, I'm running around." They're hypocrites. They're doing it for the lust demon. They're not doing it because they say, "Oh, we have no shame, we're running around butt naked." Okay, but it's like, wait a minute, no, you're under sorcery. Big difference. Okay, because Adama and Mama Eva walked around with no shame, knowing no evil. If there's still evil in your heart, you're wrong. Okay? And the materialistic will be glory and humiliation as they pass away in the glass flower. For the sun rises with a scorching heat and withers the grass, and its flowers falls and beauty is destroyed. Like this, watch this, like this, the materialists will fade away even in the midst of their pursuits. And that's what they disseminated in the movie Knowing. See this? You see how they took this out? They didn't even show you this scripture in the original canon. Why? Because they knew the materialistic world is going to get scorched. Everything that was built through the, I'm going to tell you right now, everything that was built through all these stock markets are going to get evaporated. You don't even know. It's going to be a whole nother, you watch. Okay, because that is the way that the thief stole, Lucifer stole from King Congo. That's how he did it. Okay? Like this, the material of faith, Bulika is the one who preserves through the challenges. For without withstood the test, the person will receive the wreath of life promised to those who love him. Now do you see the mockery? What he used to give the wreath on their head, okay? But the Most High saying there is now. Of course, it's probably something different, but it's like you see how you people in the Hawaiians they put that thing around their neck. That's what he's talking about. Now you see where they got it from, and they don't even know that was Bantu culture. The wreath they put. Oh, it said aloha. That's the wreath he talked. The mother said that's the wreath, the flowers and everything. Okay, that's where they got that really from is Bantu culture, the wreath of love, the Zola. Okay, that's why when the Nata was talking to the person from I love the brother. Sorry, I don't remember the name, but he was talking to this person from Tonga or one like that, and it said some of these things we are now talking about, we can see that we did pervert these things over here. Because the fallen angels, they went to islands, they went to everywhere to make people do things. And even the tattoo stuff, you don't even know what that's about. That's those gods that are fallen. They reinvent themselves all over the earth. Kuso Kongo said, I said, you don't put no mark on your skin. They do that to block the tabernacle from you. That's what they try to do with that. Okay? Let no one say when tempted, Tatanzambi is tempting me. Nope. For Tatanzambi cannot be tempted by wickedness, nor does he tempt anyone. You see, that's why when we talk about this shaming the Most High, we will be tested by the suffering of Lucifer. Okay? And the Most High allows it so that he can embarrass him every time he fails. But the only way we can really glorify the Father is to not allow Lucifer to embarrass us, so that the nations have a reason to scoff and scorn. And then those who are sowing this mentality can be removed. And I said, the time is coming, and I've already been witness to this, when many of the people who will soon come that have a high, we're going to have a high level of knowledge. Messiah, Messiah will be in the midst of it. And he's going to say, no one will pervert the tabernacle anymore with any interactions with the wicked one. It will be a separation of complete cleansing versus wickedness, and the world will see the difference. Anybody whose heart desires to be impure. That's why even me, every day it's a fight to do things. Because like I said, nobody knows the type of stuff they put out here in this energy waves. I said, go back and look at the King Alfred, like I told you. He said he gave it to us. He said it was a plan against us. Because at that time, now when I see when they made it, it was because of Toko and Kimbangu. And they were like, oh no, we're not going to let these people. And there's so many people who said, yeah, they did tests, they ran all. You think Clone Tyrone was fake? He was telling the truth, man. It was like they took our people into the military and they tested on us. The NSA, the CIA, everybody, they found ways to go around and they used our DNA to weaken people. There's a guy who said flat out, I got killed to destroy people and I don't even go to jail for it. I was like, oh, and people say America is the best country in the world and you got people doing this kind of stuff and they ain't going to prison. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, they were literally killing Bantu people to test on us to see our tolerances and how they could stop us. And it all got put out in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and it's now running amok in the streets today with people who have no mind. That's what the Most High said. That's why it was foolish for us to allow anyone to keep us in a house on fire. Because the house on fire, because nobody read the Bible, is Esau. He says in Obadiah 1:18, who do you think the house on fire he was talking about? Cain. That's why you get shot in the foot from the time you're here in this Babylon, because they're going to cripple you. Everything is designed to cripple us, and then we have to get it out of us. That's why we have to be changed. Okay. Rather, each person is tempted when they are carried away and enticed by their own wicked desires. Like if we go and do anything with any sexual immorality or any of us, okay, it's our own wicked desires. Okay, if we go and do something harm against our brothers or sisters out here, okay, it's our own wicked desires. Okay, that's why in Fumu he spoke about the intima. And it says in the scriptures, the Most High knows the heart. The heart is wicked, only he can know it. That's the whole purpose of being cleansed with the hyssop always and trying to do the righteous path always, is because the heart will go darker the more bad things we do. And that's why I was so frustrated when this happened. You know, we reached a point in our relationship where we got to where both of us were really in tune with the Most High. And this is the revelation I got after that. My wife and I, nobody even realized. I knew what happened. I can't talk about what happened, but I know what happened. The Most High knows what happened. I know what happened, okay? And what it was meant to symbolize. And that'll be revealed in this due time. But what took place was, I knew who was behind it. I knew why they were behind it. And it was like, wait a minute. What is the point of you or anyone else wanting to use this to steal power? Okay, and go run with it to your enemy when this is your opportunity to get away from him. These enemies, and these false gods. That's why I said to people, don't assume that people can speak Kikongo, speak Lingala, speak African or whatever languages, or speak any other thing and say, oh yeah, I know the Most High. Because like I said, they initiated, and I know even what took place, they initiated the protocol of destruction from there. Because they said there's no way we can let this person power up. It's a problem for us. You don't think that we're under attack by these people? They see the changes that go through us in the spiritual world like how we do. But what they don't tell you is they're the ones behind it. And they helping you do it too. If you're not locked up, if you don't have, I said, the Pinocchio strings, boy, and they got what they call, it's called Jekyll and Hyde. Man, you wouldn't believe how many people I've seen go Jekyll and Hyde in this day. And I've seen it. I'm like, do you not see that you're on Jekyll and Hyde right now? So that means you're being infected. And I said, that was done, you know that song, Tell Me Lies, Tell Me Sweet Little Lies? You have no idea how many lies were spread throughout the awakening that people jumped on them. And it was like, man, I saw these people in spirit that were doing it, and I'm like, wow, they really fell for that one. Lucifer, I'm like, this is crazy. And it's like your own heart's desire decided to believe in something that wasn't true. Now you bear false witness against your neighbor. Now the Most High got a problem with it. It wasn't even true. They triggered this. It's part of an op. It's part of this whole, you know, they took some of us, they turned us into doing their, they have these, they call it the monarch changing for who people don't know the esoteric stuff. They have turned people into what they want them to act like, be like, do like, okay? They parading them out in front of you like as if they're normal, and these people are messed up. Excuse me. Okay. Then once desire is conceived, it gives birth to sin. And when sin is accomplished, it brings forth death. Don't be deceived, my beloved follower believers. Every good thing and every perfect gift is from above and coming from the creator of light, for whom there is no variation of shifting shadow. Now, does he allow evil to go out? Yes, because he releases the kraken. Okay? Everything wicked comes from Lucifer, but he allows it to go out. Okay? But all the good things come from him. That's why he always wants us to understand. When I taught you how to behave, you went and that's why he talks about the ox knows his master, the donkey knows his crib. They took it and said, you the crib, okay, you the donkey out of the crib. That's what it said, baby boy. They made you juvenile. Okay, you forgot who your daddy is. Okay, so now we made you fatherless. Okay, and you don't even know it. We made your God dead to you. Okay, all right. In his pleasure, he nurtured us through the teachings of truth, so that we might be like the first offerings among his creation. That's why I said, why do we do the first fruits? Why do we go and say thank you? Kwanzaa yang matunda yang Kwanzaa. Okay? Why do we do that? Because it goes back to the beginning. It was a gift. The earth was a gift to us. To the earth was a gift to Abana and Saka and Yakubi for us to teach the world how to respect the creation. He said, I taught you how to act, and you shamed me. And he says, now you're out here shaming me all day long. And so when I hear pastors or preachers start talking about the other stuff out here, and I'm like, no, they weaponize the black church to also be a hypocrite against us too, to keep us in a place we don't even belong, under a cross that was never ours, under a lion that was never ours, and under an eagle that was never ours. You loving this witch instead of the one that brings manna. You're loving the eagle that brings the worms and not the eagle that brings the manna. Why do you think they didn't tell you the real story about how manna came from heaven and met us and bread? Who do you think that eagle was, by the way? It's all one spirit. Dongogo and Fumuyisu. That's why when we started complaining, it was like, say what? Okay. Now it says here, my beloved fellow followers, take heed that everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. For human anger does not achieve the devotion that pleases Tatanzambi. I can tell you right now, that's a fact. That's a fact. You go nuclear, as they call it. If they make, if you go nuclear and get so angry and you start to say things you don't. It's like you start. It's like I've watched people so many times. I was guilty of this even when I was younger. Okay, you can't take back what you say if it comes out of your heart, because what's coming out of your heart is how you feel when you're angry. And if you feel that hatred, okay, it goes up to the Pemba Kalunga as, oh, so you don't like your brother. And did you not see that the reason why you got upset is someone came and told you something and it was a sweet little lie that Lucifer put in this person? I have seen the devil come and put lies in so many people just so, and it was done through, like I said, it was done through sorcery. I watched it. And they came and told the person something, and it was all being done. It was all being run from the black ops. Because you see, let me explain something about black ops. When you're the enemy of somebody, they're going to infiltrate by not letting you know that they're there. Okay, that's like when they control governments and everything. They go and destabilize. Go look and see what happened to Puerto Rico, Cuba, and all these other places. They go and they destabilize. So let me tell you what happened with the Tokuist church and the Kimbanguist church. They went in and they destabilized it. How did they do that? They used the Kundalini spirit and started making people see different versions and visions of Kimbangu, telling them different things. That was the first thing. That's why Kusa Kongo said, and even Paula said, if you come listening to any other spirit or any other God, you're going to go with it. Yeah. Okay. That's why you got to question every spirit. Okay. They did the same thing with Toko's church. They sent in a black. They have, what was it called? MK. It's not just MK Ultra. They've had this for a long time, but they cover it up. It's called, like watching the movie, Cerebro. Okay. When you manipulate, you break into people's thoughts and you start giving them what to say, so they can start actually making you picture things that's not even real. There's a guy, even one toast said, we made these people do burnt toast, and then they could smell burnt toast burning. And one of the people, they took this one brother and they said they peeled his mind back. And he was crying because he went through so much emotion, like, oh my gosh. Do you know how many people of us they did this to? Man, I can't even count. To come in there and they reprogram their brain. They don't even know that they're talking this way. They're a totally different person. It's like, and then when Tatanzami wakes them up, they're gonna be like, who am I? It's like what they call they put it in a movie with Denzel Washington. And also the Michael what's his name did it before. It was called hold on. It was called oh, I can't call the name. When he was sitting there, like they had everybody repeating the same thing and about this guy's life when he was going to run for president. I can't call it. Y'all probably yelling it out right now when you see this video. But they have a lot of stuff like that when they go in there and they manipulate the person's brain, and then they come out and it's like, oh, like the Jason Bourne stuff. Okay, it was called I almost had it. Mander, Mander, Manchurian Candidate. There it goes. They have bounty people under Manchurian Candidate things. The person is what they call a loop, and they go specifically in there to say certain words. They react to certain triggers, and then the Manchurian Candidate comes in, and he knows his program is to destabilize or whatever they're going to do. Repeat after me. Repeat after me. Say this, say that, say that. And they go say it. Okay? And that's what I'm trying to tell people is like, you have no clue how many Manchurian or Jason Bournes that these people, I was like, that's how serious this gets. And it's all classified top secret. But it's like nobody pays attention. You're distracted. All right. For everyone who listens to the teachings and does not practice them is like one who looks in their face in the mirror and after looking at themselves leaves immediately and forgets what they look like. I always hammer myself over this one. And I have to do, I got to do better. And everybody, I mean, all I'm saying, you know. But one who seeks the perfect instruction that renders liberation abides by it, not becoming forgetful. Now, see, the perfect instruction requires you to make sure that when it's coming out, it's not from our ancestral roots in our captivities. I've discovered that. You know, what elder taught? Where did this come from? We are people forget. Let me make it very clear. The westernized education system and also the European-based systems come from Sumeria. Period. It's Canaanites and Egyptian Babylonian texts. All of it. With modified, what they modified for the modern times. And also what they did to create, they took like I said, they took those French words for million and billion and added several other zeros and said, oh, the world is this old and that. No, that was to hide the fact that they were still talking to these wicked demons. And they were still influencing the weather and everything. They didn't want you to tell you that. This mythology is a bunch of garbage. Okay? Now you're watching them on TV as superheroes. It's like, really? They got us to start idolizing these gods that the Most High, it's like, whatever. All right? But one who seeks the perfect instruction that renders liberation by not becoming a forgetful listener, but a practical doer, will be bilaka about what they do. I do, because my mission and what I'm practicing and whatever it is to do is to watch and be a watcher of what's happening to our people. And show and point out, hey, don't believe this stuff right here. It's coded. Don't go down that rabbit hole. They're going to take you down a rabbit hole every single time if you're distracted. Do you know how many people in this awakening went back down the rabbit hole and didn't even realize it? I'm telling you, you're down there. You went right back down the rabbit hole. Okay? Pure and faultless religion that pleases. See? Pure and faultless religion. That's why all of these other religions of the world, even Christianity, is not faultless because you are always sinning. They lying to you. You always sin in Christianity. You always sin in Islam. You always sin in Judaism. You're not faultless. That's why the Abantwe Kingunza was the one, or the Baklistu, his way, was the one that was faultless. You do what, one of the brothers gave me the way it works is you picture yourself doing the things that Kusa Kongo did. You picture the things that these people do. And what that does is it allows you to now manifest it. Okay? You put Masundisi with you and you do it, and it's like, okay. Looking after the distress of the strayed, but like I was saying, it's good to learn what we've been taught. But it's like sometimes if you do it during the wrong, I'm telling you, what's going to happen? The power is going to manifest at a time people won't know for many different people. Watch what's going to happen. Because there have been people that they have been demonstrating their power and they see them. And they're like, oh, Black out. Black out. Black out. We got to neutralize the threat. They see that. They're already trained for it, to take that power away from you. While keeping ourselves from being polluted by the material world. While keeping ourselves from being polluted by the material world. Let me repeat that. But while keeping ourselves, me too, polluted from the material world. That's how you know none of these people out here who mix the pagan and the non-pagan can possibly be saying that we're not of the world. You full of baloney. They have you in it while thinking that you're out of it. Especially when you're out there shopping in the, man, you don't even know. Okay? All right. Kimball. I'm going to play the song this time. It's a song that they sang at this one church with a choir. I don't own the rights to the music, like I said. It's for the edification of the channel only. And it's not for me to redistribute in any way. It's Yesu and Zambi Nanguya. Okay, for those that don't know what that means, the one that saved of the Almighty is a king. Okay, and they're going to sing the song here. But of course, we know all praises go to Tanzambi. But like I said, we're going to play it here. Sorry it was so long. I hate doing these long videos. You know, it's a lot to take in. You know. I don't know if there's words for this somewhere. I mean, Native Americans do a lot of Kingunza that we did. So if you go and you don't put any of their black magic or anything or whatever magic, it's Bantu Kingunza. Because Nsemo was doing that. If you put the right gods with, if you put Congo with many of the things, like especially like the Lakota and stuff like that, they have the Kingunza. That's why they could do certain things with them. But you know, like I said, some of these beings can still manifest. But many native cultures knew the Kingunza that we were doing. That's how they knew when the Christians came with this. They were like, this don't seem right. It was a watered down version of our Kingunza, but it was still mixed with the certain, rituals that they were doing, but it was going all back to Baal, and they just didn't know that, and they saw that. They said, "No, we know what this is. This is Canaanite," and they covered that up. Or Babylon, they said, "This is the same thing we see here: pyramids and all this stuff over here." That's why they had to tear them all down so the Christians didn't find out about it. Like I said, all praises. I recently spoke to a couple people here, and hopefully that it'll get stronger. But there's another person I got to go back and hope to talk to him. But like I said, man, it's going to be, amazing the things that are going to start coming out more and more. Because like I said, they watch us like a hawk. That's what a hawk god is always. That's what they say. Watch you like a hawk. That hawk god is always looking for us. What's he doing? What are they doing? Yeah, they want to run interference because the hawk god is connected to Lucifer. Okay, and their job is to run interference on anything that we're trying to do to bring back King Kongo's honor to the world. You know. So again, we can do much damage when we allow those who are looking to sabotage so that we remain like Cain the donkey and we're satisfied with our carrots that they give us, not realizing you have sold out they have tricked you into being a Judas. That's why they're laughing. We have tricked you to being the Yaoundé Iscariote that everybody thinks that betrayed the Messiah all the time. You are becoming. That's why they made the movie. We are always being the Yaoundé Iscariote, Judas. They turn the Christians themselves into Judas without them even realizing it. There is the Muslim, they all are acting like a Judas, really. Because the religions are not pure. So it's as if you are spitting in the Mosai's face and the Messiah's face, and you don't even know it. And the Montevelala, okay? And that's why people are out here, and people are, and one of the things I'm gonna mention real quick, and I know that this is gonna be taken care of too. It's like many of the churches, they go out and they start talking about other people's sins in the open air, about what they do and what they don't do. And you've seen what the curses have fallen upon the black churches, especially nowadays. They're starting to fall. I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna happen. They're gonna get hit hard more and more. Okay, so it's like the Mosai said. For those who are deceived by the Lucifer deception, we cannot now also then repeat it to glorify him. Okay, take a lesson from Kanani when he laughed and exposed the sin of his grandfather. What happened with Noka? Okay, and when Mfumu, the high priest, sees these things, it's like, did I not say you go to your brother in secret? And if they don't turn, then you go to the high priest. Well, who is the high priest? He is. See, you go to remember he says when they do the miracles, go to show the priest because he wasn't the spinner of the temple yet. So when you show these things that you do, it goes to the high priest. Ngangan Zombie. That's why I say, you know, nobody has replaced in Fumu-Yisu. Not even Toko said that. I'm just telling you. And he knows everything that went on from the beginning because he was there in spirit. You cannot say Manakuma say Imanda Velela or Saku Panzo and Zinga with anybody who has sinned against the Most High and had to repent. You cannot. Kuswa Kongo never sinned against Tatanzambi. Never did. And like I say, a lot of things are going to change. Even for me, I'm sure. Okay? But the point is, never put anybody in his place ever. Don't ever do it. And don't let anybody ever think that he wasn't the high priest ever. And they say, oh no, that you're doing the pagan, you're doing blasphemy. I'm not putting him above Tatanzambi. He's not. He never said he was. You didn't listen. He never told any of our people he was above the Most High. He never said that. But Rome makes you think that because they're giving you Apollo. Okay? Ingita, Samalolo, Solo Quingi, our praises.